Go! What's going on in Hot Atlanta? Live from Swanky 93.3 and the Heat 94.6 brings back the hottest hip-hop radio show live from K.L.P Entertainment and K.L.P Studios. Then K.L.P in the morning with your host, K.L.P Kennedy Lucas.
You know what it is? Put your hands up.
Tune in now on any audio platform.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I told y'all we coming back for more. This wasn't going to be just the first time ever we did a podcast without Evelyn Leteshia up in the building, our other host for K.L.P in the morning. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuned in to K.L.P in the morning. I'm your host, K.L.P Kennedy Lucas. And of course, we have our next host, Evelyn Leteshia, is in the building.
That I am, that she is. It has been an amazing week. So good to be back and ready to get this thing started right.
We got this thing started right, Evan. And let me tell you, when I was texting you, I said, hey, here are the topics. And to be honest with you, I added something, like one more thing that happened to me today. On my way out of the gym this morning. So we'll talk about that. That's going to be our last minute thing here. Now, I do got to get the sponsors out of the way before we start. We dabble on to our topics of conversation. Of course, this episode was brought to you by two sponsors, actually. The first sponsor is ProMed Consulting. I am, if everybody might know this already, but I'm the business develop executive for media relations. And ProMed Consulting, what it is it's a group of us run by my mother, Daphne. Her name is Daphne Wise, but she is the CEO of ProMed Consulting, and we consult on wound care, and we provide all of your wound care needs. You guys can go to promedconsulting.com. You can also reach out on all of our LinkedIns. Daphne, my mom, she's on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. My sister, she's the director of social media. We're everywhere. We're on LinkedIn, so you guys can reach out for that as well. And there's going to be a link description below. And the second sponsored shout out to was brought to you by Feed the Children organization. Let me tell you, it is getting hard out here for the world. The world is crazy, Evelyn. So
Say it's getting hard out here for a pimp.
well,
I was gonna
it's hard out here. Okay, I can't even do that because I can't even do that with this. So Feed the Children is an organization where you're giving back and you're being part of the community. So that way you have your efforts to go to the children of today to get them fed and get them well nourished with food. There are, unfortunately, Evelyn, there's a lot of children that are unfortunately they're going without food and the proper nutrition that they need. So I'm also going to have their website in the link description below, as well as their social media. It's a great cause. I recommend people donating to that because it is a great cause for us, our children. Whether people want to believe it or not, Evelyn, children is our future, so we have to take care of them. So I gotta give that out for that as well. So shout out to those two organizations as well. Now we're here. K.L.P in the morning is early morning, and we always like to do this thing on the podcast, Evelyn, to check in. So, Evelyn, how are you? What's going on?
I am fabulous. It's been a long 2 weeks. I mean, just ripping and running, but I get my energy coming here, ready to talk to the people, get the people what they want. This is my lane right here. I say, stay in your lane. This is my lane, and I am so feeling good. How have you been?
I've been good. So a lot of people, I think we talked about this in the last episode. I'm officially in school. I'm getting that doctorate, and let me tell you, it's a challenge right now simply because you're dabbling into a program that hefty, right? And it is one of those degrees that you can't make an F, you can't make a C. You can't even make a high C. You have to make a B or an A. So a lot of expectations are going on for that as well. But I've been good. It's been very, very good week for me and K.L.P Entertainment. I say that because Monday night, I saw you tuned in. Monday night, we did Monday Night Live. We streamed on LinkedIn and Instagram. So that has been a rocking good stream. Thank you guys, everybody who tuned in for that stream. Yeah, I've been sleeping well. I've been eating sort of well. So it's been a good week so far. It's been a hot one though, right? Because so our house, did this thing where we had the house too cold, right? You know how like when you have the AC
Yeah.
running and it's running too much, then the AC kind of kicks off because it's the unit's too cold. It has to warm it up,
Yeah.
and it stopped working. So we thought our AC was broken, and we all know we here in Georgia, so it's like
Y'all in hot Atlanta, Georgia.
it's hot. And when I say hot, it's a
The
capital
devil
H,
sweat.
sweating all over. So I was sweating. We were sweating in the house, so we had to get the technician to come in, and he was like, "No, no, your unit's fine. Your unit's too cold. You have it on 60 67. That's way too cold to a lot of people. You gotta let it warm up, or you're gonna break your unit." So, that's been kind of the hiccup of the week, but it's been. I know it's been a great week, and I'm glad that we're here in the studio to do the podcast,
Yeah.
because I look forward to the podcast as well. Now, now that me and you both are good, the next thing that's on our agenda, and we got quite a few things. We got something juicy later because we're going to talk about Dr. Umar. We all know Dr. Umar. We'll get to
Dr.
that in a minute.
Umar.
Um, we wanted to raise the question to our audience today about, and I mentioned feed the children organization and giving back, and this past, want to say last week, ProMed Consulting, we went to the George Pierce Park in Suwannee, and we were giving back to our elders. And while we were giving back, we presented food, we hosted bingo. Of course, I was there doing some video work. You guys can see it on our LinkedIn, the actual full-fledged video that's out. But I don't know, Evelyn. I kind of gave that. I don't know. I felt very powerful when we were giving back, and just to see that in our generation, when we give back, it's something so small,
Yeah.
but to the elders, it's something that is tremendous. Like we didn't have big prizes. We had like, a couple of homing utensils,
Oh
a
yeah.
couple board games, like little, $10, $15 things that you can buy from TJ Maxx, right?
Yeah.
But it really makes a difference for our elders to see the surprising moment of it. It just really, I don't know, it really gets me going. And it just kind of reminds me of, my grandma, God rest her soul. She would go to bingo night and she would see her friends, and to really, I don't know, to really be with their friends and just to really have a great time playing bingo,
Yeah.
right? And I guess the question I'm asking to the audience and to you, Evelyn, that, times have changed, right? When you want to have a good time, for in our generation, we got to go out, we got to go drinking, we got to do all this extravagant thing. But to our elders, it's something as small, and I won't don't want to say small too much, but small as in bingo. Would you ever go bingo with a friend, or were you in that? Are you also in that generation of
I
going?
different breed. So going to bingo, I would be the one like, hey y'all, let's have a bingo night at my house. Like I'm that person. So as far as going, I make fun happen wherever I'm at. So going out to club, whatever, if that's what the fun is for that night, and I'm taking fun with me, fun never has to be where I'm going. It shows up with me. That's me. But it's ironic that you say that your grandmother did bingo, and how the elderly are so appreciative of what's little, that we give them, is because us in the workforce, we're really feeling it, that we're working, but with the cost of living going up, it still doesn't seem enough. We forget that a lot of our elders, they're on a fixed income.
Mhm.
In a profession that I've worked in, I've seen elders where they may get one meal a day from Meals on Wheels. Some are on food stamps. I remember seeing a lady who was getting like $30 in food stamps a week,
Mm.
and that's supposed to help her through the week. And so if you showed up and brought her some fruit, she was so appreciative. And you talked about bingo. My grandmother, God rest her soul,
Mhm.
when she was alive, she would go to this place. It was called the Gale Rise Center in my hometown, and for some reason she called it a media site. To this day, I have no clue why she called it that. But when she would go, one of the things they would do, they would always play bingo.
Mhm.
And my grandmother would come home with a prize every day. It took me 3 years to realize she not winning just because she that lucky, but they actually made it to where everyone got a chance to win so that these elders could take something home. So my grandmother would come home with utensils, canned goods, a plate. or a cup, and so much so we had to call the people at one point because she was living with me and my dad and say, "Hey, y'all can, you don't have to send her home with something every day because we have nowhere else to put this stuff." Like it started.
Yeah.
Had she been living by herself, then yeah, but she was living with us, so it became like starting to clutter a little bit. But
Hmm.
yes, they are very appreciative, because coming from an era where my grandmother didn't have much, that's something big for them. And I do think, the more you give back, the more you can reach back. You can pull
Hmm.
somebody forward, for one, whether it's an elderly person, whether it's someone of our age. But that's something we all should be striving to do because you never know when you're going to be needing that hand to pull you up.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so true. My definition of fun, and sometimes with my friends, yeah, we do go out, but I think for my friends, our company is, at the house if we plan, so probably not necessarily bingo, but like card games or Cards Against Humanity, Taboo, right? Especially, let me tell you, Taboo,
I
my
love me some
family.
taboo. I've been playing taboo since middle school.
My family, especially us five. So there's five of us. So you know my big brother Alex. So it's Alex,
Yes. Shout out
um,
Alex.
Kendria, D'Amber, Ryan. When we playing Taboo together, it's war, right?
Yeah.
It's war because we're very we're very competitive. And there's one thing that I saw at the event where these elders, they were very, very competitive, right? So we gave them all kinds of rules with bingos, up and down, cross, left and right. We did a one game where you had to cover all of the cards. A lady won, she won a blender, which was great for her because she just became a new grandmother, right? So that
Okay.
was kind of very, very impactful. But the competition is fierce with our elders. Like they want to win. And I guess it's just like that thrill of winning something, right? No matter what it is, it could be big or small. Elders need to win something, right? It's that competitiveness that us humans we rely on the most. And
Mm-hmm.
it's I don't know, it's just very, very interesting to see and to see the amount of smiles it really got me going, Evelyn. So now
Mm-hmm.
I understand why when people go to the host bingo or they're going to and true story, way back in the day, back in the Milledgeville days, shout out to the people in Milledgeville, there was an elder center, senior center called Pecan Hills. My other grandmother, who is still alive, which is they're thankful for that on my dad's mom. She was a resident for Pecan Hills, and I remember this one gentleman, his name was Mr. Herbert, and
Herbert.
he was not and not the other Mr. Herbert we know about from the hit Family Guy TV show, not him.
Oh,
But take his trash out, and he would call me Sonny Boy. Like, here, listen here, Sonny Boy. And then it was I miss him so much because he had so much moxie to him, if that makes sense. So he had a lot of kind of swank to him that just really made him a cool dude. Unfortunately, years back he passed away, but it just really got me going that now I'm finally getting back to where, hey, we're going back to these centers and we're hosting bingo, seeing our elders. And I think the saying is alive, Evelyn, that, respect your elders, right? I think that is a true sentiment. And it's not just a phrase, but it's true because our elders, they know best. They've been through the worst of the worst. When people think we've been through the worst, I think there's other people that's been through the worst in,
yeah.
in times, right? So very, very interesting. I do encourage people to give back to the community. We're going to be back September 9th for another bingo night. So that's going to be really cool because after bingo night, and Alex, he was hosting. The company hosted it, but he was the person that was calling the numbers. And
Okay.
Alex. Shout out to
Yeah.
Alex. I
Shout
talked
out to
about the
Alex.
Atlanta Falcons on the live stream. Like, hey man, why you talking about the Falcons like that? Like, hey, that's just how I feel, man. But he hosted bingo, and he had Alex had that actor that swank to him as well. So they're like, we gonna be back, and then they're very, very excited. So I do recommend that everybody um check in on your elders, especially your grandparents. If your grandparents are still alive, check in on your grandparents because they're getting older, right? So it's just if I had a minute to talk to, and my grandma on my mom's side, her name is Barbara Ann Morris. And if I had a moment to talk to her a little bit longer, I wish I had that time, right? To say, hey, I've been going through some stuff, grandma. Here's what I've been going through. And she would always call me her sweetie pie. So miss her to this day. Every day we think about her. But check out on your elders, ladies and gentlemen. That's the I guess the PSA, Evelyn.
Check
Um,
on your elders.
check on them folks. I'd say check on your parents too. That's what I would say. All right. So the next topic of conversation is on the board here. You have HBO Max, Evelyn?
I do. I do. I binge watch certain things like House of Dragon.
So what you
Yeah,
think of House of Dragons
I love
this
it.
season?
This season was kind of slow,
Mm,
but
I
I
agree.
think it needed to be that because it's building what's about to happen in the next
Mhm.
season. My only thing is because this season was so slow, I was like, are y'all gonna make us wait another 2 years before we see the next season? That's the only
Probably.
thing. Because the season was, I understand it needed to be slow to build us for the war that's about to take place, right?
Right.
But at the same time, like y'all better not make us wait until 2026, 2027 for this next season. I'm like, I can't. Yeah, y'all doing too much. Y'all
I
doing too much.
I felt like season one was better than this season
Yeah,
because season one I never skipped an episode when it comes out. When new episode comes out every Sunday, right?
yeah.
This season I felt like okay, I can wait until I binge watch it later,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I always say to my friends, my family, and our audiences that if you're skipping an episode for a season of a show that you really, really like, it may not be hitting, right? If it's skipped.
This is true.
Kind of the
Yeah.
same thing with music. What about what's the other one I like? What about Succession? You have
I've not watched that one yet.
you have Ooh,
I've not watched that yet.
what? Okay, so if you have time, Succession is you might like Succession. So it's
Okay.
about the Roy family. There's Logan Roy, Kendall Roy, Shiv Roy, um, and Rom Roy. So there is a family that owns a news network, and like Logan Roy is the head honcho, but he's the older gentleman, and then the kids are trying to be his successor, right? It's almost like if you watched I don't know if you watched this, but it was a documentary. Robert Murdoch, he's the owner of Fox, right? So
Okay.
Fox is the news corporation. His family's trying to keep it within the family. The kids want to take over, but then as he gets older, he still wants the control
Yeah.
of the whole network itself. It's almost like that, but
Okay.
in an HBO twist side of things. What about now? You seen Euphoria?
I was late to the party.
Yeah.
Because I had seen people talking about it on social media all the time. Euphoria this,
Mm.
Zendaya that. I was like, what are y'all talking about? And then like I got to a point where I binge watched some other show and was done. I'm like, what's next? And then Euphoria just kept popping up as a recommendation. So I watched it, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this
Oh,
something is good. This
yeah.
I was like, man,
So good, Zendaya. Let me tell you now, and I feel bad for Zendaya now because her new movie Challengers came out,
okay,
and so on the way to, I think it was on the way to Vegas, right? Challengers was on the Delta TV. Not trying to flex or anything, but it was on the Delta TV. I was flying Delta,
okay,
and I saw the lady next to me. She was watching it, and then I was like, "Oh, that's Challengers. That's Zendaya's latest one." And she directed the movie. And
yeah,
then when she got out, her family was right behind her, well, behind us. And she said, "Well, I watched the Challengers movie that Zendaya did. It's boring, right?" So I feel bad because this was her first movie directing, right?
yeah,
So some people might say that she just needs to stick to the acting side of things and just leave the director type roles to the actual directors that's been directing for a while. I think Zendaya tried it. She may try it again. I don't know. Um, but
yeah.
the Challengers movie, I got to see what the hubbub was about. So because people think that it's a little bit boring. But we were talking about HBO Max because I wanted to do my thorough review. And it's okay if you may have not seen this show because this is the show that is getting a lot of push now. It's called Industry. You
Okay,
seen Industry?
no.
Industry. So, oh, let
The
me
one,
let me
okay, so right now I do this this thing where I'll get a screaming kick of binge watching a show,
Mhm.
and I'll completely watch that series and binge it, and then I'll hop to another platform. So like I'll be on HBO for a minute.
Mm.
Just now, I finished watching Interview with a Vampire. I binged that series on Netflix.
Oh
So
wow.
now that you're giving me these shows on HBO Max, I'm about to hop on back over there,
Yeah.
binge watch them shows.
Yeah. So the HBO got them shows now. They
Yeah.
got some good ones. So
Outside
real
of
quick.
House of Dragon, the last one I binged was
Mhm.
the Gerard Carmichael um what was it, reality show.
Oh, okay. So I've seen snippets of that, and Joe Budden seen the show too, because of course I follow Joe Budden, and they
Yeah.
had their own reactions about the show itself. There was a joke in there about something about slavery, and I think his partner was a
Yes.
white male,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it was very controversial because he made a slave joke
Mm-hmm.
between them two, and a lot of people didn't really accept that really well. I think with that, I think he kind of had to recant because times are kind of serious now, Evelyn. So you
Yeah.
can't really joke about that kind of stuff in today's society, or you might get canceled, right?
Yeah.
So
And
you kind of
it's like with comedy, comedy was the space that you get to tell truth,
hmm
right? And you also get to allow people their emotions freely.
hmm
But just because you can tell a joke doesn't mean every joke needs to be told,
right,
right?
true.
I thoroughly like a lot of people were kind of turned off about you know his sexuality and him putting it
hmm
out there and his family stuff.
hmm
It's his truth regardless, right?
Right.
I think sometimes we don't give things a chance. Like I had no problem with it. It's not that I go out shouting that I'm a part of the LGBTQ plus community. I am,
hmm
but I don't ever feel like I gotta go broadcast that. I mean, as when I was living as a heterosexual woman and
hmm
dating strictly, men, I never had to go out and say, "Hey, y'all, I'm heterosexual," so I don't feel the need to do it on the opposite end. When people
Right.
ask me, I will tell them, or if we're having a discussion like this, I will say that. But I've
hmm
never been one who had to go out there. I tell people, "What you see, baby, is what you get."
Right.
But I enjoyed it. I think sometimes just looking at the stuff that he's dealing with, he
Mm.
definitely was processing through a lot of trauma. And if him doing his reality TV show helped him with that, then great. I think sometimes he forced a little bit in places, especially when it came to his parents,
hmm
um, where the same way he wanted them to respect, his lifestyle and who he is as a person and his truth. A lot of times I felt like he was stepping outside of the respect that they were setting boundaries to and say, hey, this is new for us. You can't just
mm
expect us to flip a switch just because you did. Just
Yeah.
because you're comfortable now being out, you can't all of a sudden expect us just to jump on board. But
Right.
near the end of the series, what was great to see is that as hard up against the wall as his mom was, at the on the very last episodes, now you see his mom in the kitchen with his boyfriend, and they're cooking and laughing together.
Yeah.
And so I think for anybody who's listening to this, and you're part of LGBTQ plus and community, and if it took you a journey to get to a point where you're able to say that out loud, where you're able to live out loud, if that's your truth right now,
hmm
you got to understand the same way that it took you a process to be able to live in that truth. Everyone around you is going to have to go through a process to learn the new you who is living in that truth.
hmm
And if you're pushing against it, trying to make people flip all like in a day, you're not going to get what you're looking for.
Right.
You got to allow people the same opportunity to see you in your truth as it took you to look in that mirror and see that truth.
hmm
And so, I really enjoyed that series though, and
Yeah.
I know people had a lot of mixed reviews about it, especially him, kissing men on camera or talking about having sex with men. I know that turned a lot of people off.
hmm
My philosophy has always been if you are straight, right,
Mm.
and you don't indulge in any of that with your sexuality, why does it offend you so much?
That preach.
So
Preach him.
that's just been my thing. I'm like, and people say I don't want to see that on my. Well, if you're living as a heterosexual person, we have people who are in the LGBTQ plus community who've been there
hmm
since the beginning of times, really, and now they just have more visibility.
hmm
think about how many years they had to sit and watch heterosexual people live out loud.
Yeah.
And you telling me because now in the last 10 to 15 years that they're now visible, that's making you so uncomfortable that you think an agenda is being pushed.
Right.
I'm just like, if it's not for you, then it's just not for you. But you know, if that's not the lifestyle you live, why does it make you so angry to the point that you're losing sleep and energy over being upset over somebody else's sexuality?
That is so true. We see that in today's society, and I learned because I'm a super, super, super strong ally to the community as well, and I was able to learn a little bit more that I didn't know. Right,
Yeah,
so I don't know. That really gets me excited when I learn a little bit more about it. A lot of people do get offended to where based on what I've seen, where people would make little slide comments or little jargon jokes that's not funny that can get you canceled, number one. But
yeah,
then I kind of be like, hey, what do you mean by that? And then they get so frazzled and they get so scared because like, oh,
yeah,
uh-oh. I was like, no, you said it. So what do you mean? So I
yeah,
can educate you a little bit more. So I can put you out on blast. And
yeah.
normally when that happens, it happens when there's a lot of people around. So I put people out on blast when that happened. And then everybody's like, they give you that look like we about to cancel you right now. So
And even cancel culture in itself is
mhm,
fickle too. People cancel
mhm,
one person,
mhm.
but they got this other person on the platform that's doing the same exact thing, and they
Yes.
keep doing it for years, right?
Right.
Even having this discussion, a lot of people won't even touch LGBTQ plus community, discussions because they're
Mhm,
afraid of getting canceled. I'm not afraid of being canceled, baby. You can't cancel nothing that's meant for me.
mhm. Yes. Amen.
That's why you can't cancel anything that was meant for me. Because what was meant for me is going to happen regardless of whether you support it or not. And the thing about me is I'm going to always give my opinion. I'm going to back it up with some things,
Mhm.
but I'm never going to waver from being truthful, and I'm going to be unbiased. And
Right.
if there's a learning curve or something I need to learn, I'm always open to learning, but I'm not going to get on anybody's platform shouting opinions just because I'm mad and I want to be
Yeah.
selective on what I hate today, and then tomorrow I'm loving this person for the same thing. Cancel culture is so fickle.
Mhm.
That's why I love having mature conversations with people like
Yes.
K.P. Ken
Hey.
Patterson, where we can have
Hey.
these real conversations.
And that's good because you notice a lot of podcast shows, they try to, and I say a lot, but sort of very few, but a lot, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense, right? Because you got some podcasts out there that they like to have that mature conversation and to really lay it out on the line. But then some shows, okay, you got an agenda. Who paid you to say it like this? Oh,
Yeah,
you mad about something? You gonna storm up and on a microphone and yell across the room for it?
yeah,
That's not really a true podcast pushing an agenda, in my opinion. And it's for clicks, right? We get it. We in the podcast industry now. It's for clicks.
yeah,
Sometimes people believe that clicks will get you paid, and sometimes they do. But I think there's a lot of podcast shows that's still standing that are able to have that honest conversation, right? That honest, mature, intellectual conversation to get the message across to people, right? Because people
yeah.
want to know. People want to know people want to hear about other people's opinion, but in a mature manner, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I,
absolutely. And I want to also say when we was talking about the Carmichael stuff, how I said
mhm,
allowing people to have the opportunity to pivot and change and see the new you.
mhm,
But also don't put yourself ever in a position where you have to beg somebody
right,
to accept you. I will tell anybody if you have to beg somebody to accept you living in your truth, baby, love them from a distance
yeah,
because
true,
all you doing is causing yourself more headache and heartache. You
mhm,
know,
mhm,
and you're losing energy and precious time where you could be loving on those people who love you, unconditionally, or at least loving you in a capacity that you deserve and need to be loved. So
right,
I want to make sure I say that. I don't want people just to think, oh, well, I gotta just regardless of who you are, what truth you're living in, if people just blatantly don't want to respect or accept what truth you're living in, be okay to walk away.
mhm,
Sometimes I think we get caught up on we're not getting the support from the people that we really want it from, that
mhm,
we miss out on all the other people who are actually supporting and loving on us.
mhm,
We put so much focus on those people who because we really want this person to be on this side supporting me, just like these other folks. We miss it, and so I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saying, allow people the opportunity to catch up to where you are in your truth. But at the end of the day, if they don't accept it, be ready and prepared to love them from a distance. Is what I'm
Yep.
saying.
Well said. Well said,
Because
Evelyn.
I do that.
Um, where we? Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah. So okay, yeah, I remember where we brought. So I was gonna talk about the industry, but I know we went to a great conversation. That was a great conversation. So,
Yeah.
but real quick, industry, something for you, Evelyn, if you want to take a damper in it, is really good show. This show is so smart. So it's about these group of young, I would say young adults. They got their MBA and they're working for a share trade share company called Pearpoint,
Okay.
and they're selling stocks and bonds, and they're representing this currencies, and they're representing a company called Lumi. And Lumi has some downfall when they first ring the bell for the New York Stock Exchange. The power went out, and people start dumping. CEOs and other billionaires start dropping off their stocks and selling their stock quickly, meaning the company's not making money. Pearpoint is in some hot waters because they're representing Lumi, and then the stocks are getting sold off, and they're losing money. It's a really good show, but there's a lot of drama into it, right? It's one of
Okay.
them shows. It's almost like a Euphoria, right? It's one of those shows where you can't. I wouldn't watch this show with young kids because there are some elements that only adults understand.
Okay.
But industry is so good. It is witty. It is smart. You have amazing actors and actresses that are in this show that their acting is just so crisp because they know what they're talking about. I really want one of them to be my friend, and they can teach me, financial literacy, a little bit more about financial literacy because they're really like really. This show is just really smart, right? You just really got to understand this show. Um, so I encourage people to watch it, but we're turning that page towards the next segment. I know we're kind of skipping around, but financial literacy
Yes.
presented
Something we all
by
need to
the
talk about.
industry, watching on HBO Max. Season 3 is out right now. It's one of those shows, Evelyn, that new episodes come out every Sunday. So it's one of them.
Yeah.
Um, excuse me. So I wanted to talk about financial literacy before we get to Dr. Umar and his drama, because we I got some choice words for him too. But
Oh.
financial literacy, man, where do we begin on that? Because the last few days, I've seen people who are lacking financial literacy. And I don't mean it as they may not have the funds because they're trying to live this thing we call life by themselves, Evelyn. That's not what I mean, because it's hard. Back in 2015, starting off in college, we didn't have that much money to our names personally with me. And shout out to GGC. They waived some of the fees and they got me in with my meal plan because I just couldn't afford it. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about our generation. I'm talking the 26, 27, 28, all the way up to 30s, some 30s, older 30s, late 40 or early 40s, they got it, they understand it. But
Mm-hmm.
you'd be surprised that a lot of people are lacking financial literacy without putting people on blame. Because I got some friends who lacking of it. I ain't gonna put their name out blast on this public uh, broadcast, but we're here to educate the masses here, Evelyn, about financial literacy. And I'm not saying have millions of dollars in the bank. That's not what I'm saying because it's hard, right? The
Yeah.
economy is hard right now. But you realize that a lot of people buy a lot of crazy crap, knowing that they don't need it. People
Mm-hmm.
spend money that they know they ain't got, and
Mm-hmm.
people are late on some credit card bills. I have a friend the other day, he told me, and this was perfect for the podcast. He said, "Hey, yeah, I got to pay my credit card bill, but I'm just gonna hold it off and just wait for the overdraft and just pay the fee." Like, why would you want to pay an overdraft fee if you're over your limit?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't know it impacts your credit score. He's like, "What? Really?" Like, yes,
Yeah.
that's gonna hurt your credit score, buddy. You need to pay that credit card because that credit score is very important in today's society.
And then when you go to open something else, they're gonna look at your credit history and say, "Oh, got a lot of late fees here. I don't think we can approve you for this loan.
Yes.
You don't like you pay your stuff on time.
Yes. So he was shocked. He's like, Kenny, I ain't know that. Like, okay, so that's topic for the podcast. A lot of people don't know financial literacy. Apparently, what I'm hearing, right? A lot of people spend money that, they can't afford this certain type of thing, but they really want it. Maybe it's time for you to just not think about it and just work hard. And then later you can come back and get it if you got it.
Yeah.
Right. But if you can't get it, you can't get it. I'm sorry. But my question for you, Evelyn, have you ever endeavored someone who had financial literacy, and how did you cope with that? I was curious to ask you about that.
When you say, okay, rephrase your question again.
So, have you ever had a friend that was never that's not responsible with their money?
Yes, I've had several friends. And I would like to say, even me growing up, my dad was good with money in terms of how to save and prioritize money.
Mhm.
Even with financial, literacy when it comes to investing, that wasn't something I grew up with. My dad didn't,
Mhm.
even though he had several businesses that he ventured into. Like at one point, he had a gym. At one point, him and my uncles had a nightclub. Him and one of my uncles were DJ, and they did the house parties and yard parties. So he had businesses. But like talking about investment portfolios and stocks and stuff like that, that was not what my dad knew. And I didn't know that. I didn't even start, really looking into investments till 30 plus, how
Mhm.
to invest my money, what your 401k, like, yes,
Mhm.
you're paying into it, but what does that mean? Like, I didn't
Mhm.
really start looking at that until my 30 plus, and we just didn't have it. But I knew how to save. I knew how to prioritize my money.
Mhm.
I know not to go get no outfit if I don't get paid for another week and I need to eat.
Mhm.
But I know people who would do that. They were like, YOLO. And I'm like, yeah, you YOLOing. And then you got to beg people for money every day until you get your next check in 2 weeks to eat.
Mhm.
But you just
Mhm.
bought a pair of $200 jeans
Mhm.
that could have bought you $200 worth of groceries.
Yes, and let me tell you, groceries is $200 too.
Yeah, you have look one bag. Walk out of
Yeah.
Walmart with one bag, and that's $200.
Yep. That's just
um, but yeah, I remember in college, and I'm not gonna put nobody out there, but in college I had a friend
Mm,
who literally would go out and party with mutual people that we knew, buying rounds of drinks and trying to just basically fit in with them. And I had known this person since we were kids, right?
mhm,
And one thing about us being friends, you've never had to do that to be my friend,
mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
You've
does.
never had to buy me anything or splurge on me to be my friend. But I felt like, in a sense, this is what she was doing to
Mm,
try to be these people friends and be seen. And I
mhm,
didn't too much say anything because I'm like, we're both in college, and although we're still friends, I know she's trying to create this space for herself too. Because college is the place where you
mm,
kind of reinvent yourself and you become, you get to have this new circle of people that you meet. But then it came to the point where now I'm privy to conversations of you calling home
mhm.
and you're calling your mom asking for money. And I remember this went on for multiple times. I'm listening to you on the phone and you're arguing with your mom about sending you more money and blah, blah, blah. And so finally, I just, one day I said, hey, not to tell you what to do or anything, but maybe if you back up from buying them all them drinks and stuff you be doing, maybe you have a little bit more pocket money.
Right.
And you would have thought I said I don't curse this girl. Like you would have thought well, first of all, it's my money. My grandfather left me there, and if I want it, I can call home and get it. And it's like she was missing what I was saying. It's like you're splurging on these people.
Yeah.
It's not adding to your financial stability. It's taking away from it. They're
Mhm.
not taking you out splurging and buying a bar for you, and
Right.
I'm your friend. I love you enough to tell you the truth that it seemed to me like you're trying to buy their friendship and they're taking advantage of it. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, later on when this person, I found out that this person was a part of the LGBTQ plus community,
Mm,
not because she told me,
mhm,
but because that same group that she had been buying drinks for, we were away on a college trip,
mhm,
and I just happened to be in the hotel room with like three of them. Like we were all split in different hotel rooms. There was four of us in each room.
Mm-hmm.
And they were joking, and it was like, how isn't it funny that all the lesbians are in one room? And I was like, no, my homegirl over there, right? You know,
Yeah.
like, and it was like, yeah, because she's a lesbian. Now imagine this being your childhood like friend,
Yeah.
and the first time you learn this is because they're making fun of her. The same people that you're buying the bar out for.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I have to sit and eat on. I'm swallowing this now, so it don't look like I'm totally disconnected from this person who literally has been my friend since childhood. I'm like, well, I'm just trying to play it off like I already knew, and I already knew. I'm trying to play it off like I already knew she was 11. I didn't
Yeah.
know. And what made it hurt even worse is they're talking and making fun of you, and it wasn't making fun of her in like or the people in the room in like a derogatory, just nasty way. They were just making an observation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, they're talking about you, and these are the same people you bought at the bar for. And I'm just like, wow. Not only did you get mad at me for trying to help you prioritize your money, but they're talking about you, and I'm supposed to be one of your best friends, and you didn't even tell me
Right.
that this is your truth. And I just never had a discussion with her about it. It just kind of life went on. But yeah, that was one of the first instances where I had to address it with a friend. Nowadays, baby, I don't get into people financial. Like for me, it's me. Like people say all the time about, are you fine and stuff? I know you got some men sponsoring some stuff for you. I know you ain't paying for everything. I'm like, I could. I really could. And the way some of y'all papas, y'all grandpas be at me, I could be having somebody SSI check right now. I could. I really could. But I don't. So everything I do is on me. Me paying all my bills, me trying to finance this entrepreneurship thing that I'm doing in this business.
Right.
And there's been really great people in my life who believe in me and what I'm trying to do, that I actually had to borrow a loan from somebody.
Right.
But even with that, my track record is so great, they know they're getting it back.
Right. They'd be like, all right, yeah, you take that. Yeah. I had quite a few. I had a not necessarily like friends, but like business partners. Like, hey, K.L.P, we see you doing it. Here, take this. Yeah, we'll know we'll get our return on the back end later on, right? So it's always good to pay people back if you take borrow money from. I would say if you borrow money from business partners, that's better. If you borrow money from friends, then that's a little bit of a gray area. That's a slippery slope when it comes down to it.
You got to know each other. You really got to know who
you got to.
You're borrowing from, or if you're lending money. And the rule of thumb often is never lend what you would miss, right?
Right.
But my family and friends know me well enough to, like, if I come, by the time I come for you and I even ask you for money, that means I'm in a tough spot, because I don't ask nobody for money. I rarely ask for help. So when I come to you, they know it's real. I'm not coming to it. They know I'm not coming to them, and I don't left a trail of mess behind me, and I don't, prioritize other stuff that ain't important over my financial stability. They know that about me, because that's the standard I've set. In the last episode we talked about restaurant standards.
Right.
There's a standard that you set for yourself financially, and even when people say, "Well, don't worry about it, you got to pay," I said, "No, I'm gonna pay you back, because I never know if I'm gonna need it again." And I don't want to add to a deficit. I'd rather keep it that slate at zero, so that when I come back and ask you again, if I need to, it ain't like, "Oh dang, I don't give you 200 before. You need another what?
Yeah.
You need 1,000. You need what?" So
like, hey, let me hold some. Let me hold some real quick.
They all know. And I always say this to them: "You gonna get your shout out when I get to the red carpet."
So I say that to my friends that if I ask for money, I say that to my mom a lot too, because my mom has been my biggest supporter with a lot of stuff. So she was like, okay, all right. Your middle name's Lucas. She's like, all right, Lucas. Well, when you go to the Oscars, I'm gonna wear a red dress. You're gonna wear a red suit. Your name gonna be nominated for Best Director, and you gonna take me to the Oscars. I was like, all right, Mom, I got you. I got you. Very soon it's gonna happen, Mom. Right. So I always like to thank the people and just kind of make sure they getting something on the back end, primarily in our business partners that we have, right? Because I feel like, and I always say this to a lot of my friends, that a friendship should just be a friendship. It shouldn't be transactional, right?
Yeah.
Let me buy you something to buy. Like you mentioned, the friend buying your friendship, it shouldn't be transactional, right? There's this running joke that one of my homegirls, I ain't gonna put her out on blast, but she asked me for some money, and I said, hey, I normally give money to my mom if she really needed, my pops if he really needed, and my significant other. And she's this running joke because every time I ask to borrow something of hers, not necessarily money, but a charger, she's like, well, I only give it to my boyfriend and my mom and my dad. So I was like, joke's on me.
Yeah.
But I do that just to understand that it's a friendship never should be transactional. And I've had it to where in our circle, shout out to my mafia squad, they know who they are. We
Squad.
had friends, my squad, we had friends who come and they go, and it was transactional and it wasn't genuinely a good friendship. And obviously, they're no longer in our circle. We don't really talk as much because it's about what can I do for you? Or what
Yeah.
do I get in return of this? Right. And I,
Absolutely.
I had
Absolutely.
another friend, shout out to her. I'm not gonna put her on blast for this segment, but um, she is one of our friends that are in our circle now, and she would give her arm to somebody if she had to, right? She's that good of a friend. But then we had friends that took advantage of her,
Yeah.
and she would buy everybody gifts for Christmas or birthdays. When birthdays are coming up, she's going to pop out and show them. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar.
Pop out show.
Yo, yeah. So me and her had a heart to say, hey, sometimes dun, 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 you can't you can't give somebody a whole lot because they'll take advantage of you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So she understood it, and we kind of had a circle, and then we made it smaller, and then just kind of watching and just knowing who gonna be there at the end when they need help with
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah.
Previously, I helped her move. She moved to a new place, and she said, hey, kid, I need some help moving. I said, hey, I'm there. What time?
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be
And
this time. I'll make sure you get paid. I may can get you now, but I get you later. Like, hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry, I got you. Right?
yeah, and
Is that
things,
friendship?
friendship things, like you said, it shouldn't have to be transactional, but
Mm-mm.
also it's genuine and sincere if we go out and you say,
Mm.
"Oh no, I got you this time," right? Then for me, thinking of how I like to reciprocate, baby, next time
Mm.
we go, I got you, right?
Right.
Like that. Or my friends, two of my homegirls, I call my big sis. They're forever having something at their house where they invite a lot of people over and they
Mm-hmm.
have food and drinks and all kinds of stuff like that. Every time I'm on my way, I will call and say, hey, y'all need me to pick up anything?
Mm-hmm.
What I need to bring, what I need to get. And I always stay extra late and make sure I help them clean up, do whatever. Because I
Mm-hmm.
do know that some people that are there, they're there to get their plate and leave. They ain't bought
Yeah.
nothing. Don't ever bring nothing. Just always taking something. And
Yeah.
so I like, and so anytime they're doing something, they don't even think of it as a cost to them to include me or invite me or pay for me because I'll do the same thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a unspoken rule. Let's take care of each other. And I'm gonna tell you what I'm not gonna do.
Yeah.
How some of y'all go to dinner and it be like 10 of y'all and y'all be like, the bill come out and it's like $1,000 and y'all talking about we just gonna split it equally and all I had was a drink. Baby, no, we ain't.
I see that. I see something like that on Facebook.
You look, all I had was a Sprite, and you telling me I'm about to split this bill with 8 other people, and y'all don't had crab legs and steak and everything, and all I came because I ate before I came. I just wanted to come out for the companionship and the friendship. I'm splitting it with y'all.
Nah, I'm
the only
buying what I got.
yeah, the only
What I
time
ate.
I would do that is if I'm taking people out and I said, y'all, it's on me tonight, and I'm paying for everybody.
Mhm.
But I'm not splitting the bill where all I had was a drink and y'all don't sit up here and ate like it was Last Supper. No,
Last summer.
because I ain't gonna get loud. I ain't gonna try to embarrass somebody. I'm calling that way. Go ahead and give me my check. I'll see
Yeah.
y'all later. That's what I'm
Separate.
doing.
When they ask, is it gonna be together or separate? Separate.
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 Because I wish I would split over, like I be seeing that on social media too, like these
Mm.
hundreds and hundreds of dollars of, and all you had was one basket of fries that cost you $5, and they want you
Yeah.
to split and pay $40 a piece per person. Oh hell no!
Yeah.
My friends wouldn't even try me like that. That's how I know they ain't your friends.
Nah.
Cause
They just they there for the hookup. Like, hey, we're gonna we
yeah,
gonna get this person.
yeah.
Nah,
But
nope.
jumping back into you talking about financial literacy,
Mhm.
one thing I do see in our generation of millennials now
Mhm.
is we're a lot more with our kids. really starting them younger with the financial literacy. Because what we
Yes.
found out, because we didn't have that, is once we turned 18 and went to college, like you said, a lot of us ain't had no credit built up,
Yeah.
or if your parents had stuff in your name before you turned 18, your credit was horrible
Yeah.
because
Oh,
they,
I
you know
almost
what I'm
said,
saying?
yeah, I agree. Sorry, parents. Sorry, mom and
So
dad.
some of us had to like crawl out of a hole before we could even get there. But now we're teaching our babies to be better and do better. And last fall, last year about September, I was stage managing for a play done in Atlanta.
Mhm.
And they had vendors, and these two little girls, they were younger than 10. I can't tell you the actual age right now, but they were younger than 10. They had their little booth
Mhm.
set up, and their booth is called it was called I Got Bank, right?
Mhm.
They are young entrepreneurs, and they call themselves kidpreneurs,
Oh,
and
that's cute.
they basically had this entire banking system set up to
Mm.
help kids learn financial literacy, how to save, how to set up a bank account, how to write a checkbook. They even got a YouTube series where they go through and show kids how to be financial literate. Right, I bought stuff for my niece and stuff like that. If you're listening to this and you're on Instagram, please go to I Got Bank Save. Right, it's all one. I
Mhm.
Got Bank Save. These two little girls are phenomenal. They have been all over the U.S. teaching children, teaching adults, because like you said, a lot of adults don't have the financial literacy.
Mhm.
And they are doing phenomenal things. And come to find out, right? Because I ended up talking to their mom who was there and telling her I
Mhm.
went to Clemson, and she said, "Oh, my sister went to Clemson." We're talking their aunt and I play intramural basketball together at
What?
Clemson University.
Hey, small world.
I was like, "Oh, are you serious?" I immediately, when I got home, I called my girl Carla. I said, "Carla," well, I messaged. I said, "Carla, it's your nieces, and they are so freaking amazing. They
Oh.
are. You should see them. I Got Bank Save on Instagram. Please go follow those little girls. If you got children, that's where you need to be because they are teaching the
Mm.
kids how to save, how to bank their money, what banking system is, all that good stuff. And they got these amazing little skits and stuff on YouTube that
Oh, that's
really helps kids learn through quizzes and challenges and things like that. So I want to shout them out because you were saying the financial literacy.
yeah, and that's so true because and not trying to disrespect public schools or colleges, but they don't teach you all that.
No,
Financially, they're not going to teach. That's not in their right. I think it should be in the criteria somewhere.
mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a voter poll for it to be in criteria for the Board of Education. I think Board of Education, schools need to have financial literacy classes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because it is getting rough out here, and people
mm-hmm.
need to know these things. And I also think to add on knowing how to budget, whether it's for business
Mm-hmm.
and or for personal. So for business, for me having an MBA, of course, I know about expenditures and revenue and profit and net loss and these things because at K.L.P Entertainment, we have to see these things every day and just kind of articulate where we're at with the market, right?
Yeah,
But I also feel that it's also important to budget your personals, right? I
mm-hmm.
was telling quite a few friends who needed help. And I said, well, when you have a debit card, savings, credit cards, write up a monthly plan, a budget. Okay, your car note is this much, your grocery is this much every 2 weeks. You got to pay this bill, you got to pay that. And then if you use your credit card for this, you got to make sure you pay that back. Right. And that's what I was
Yes,
telling the my guy friend who didn't know about an overdraft or overdraft fee and him being late. I said, no, you got to plan these things,
mm-hmm.
right? Because if you don't plan these things, then you're in trouble and then you're going to sink. And that's why I kind of see a lot of us generations, Gen Z, a little bit, to where they are spending money they don't have and they're just kind of not watching their pockets.
Yeah,
Right. And that's what's missing. That's what's missing with financial literacy, knowing how to save. And then when you save and you pay your bills and you work and get paid and do all these other things, then you have savings, right? You have savings. When I went to they seen it in me in Vegas and Puerto Rico, and then on the tour, they're like, Kennedy, you traveling a lot. What you doing? Well, I have financial literacy, right? When I'm working for a company or running managing quite a few companies that's in my portfolio, I'm learning how to invest. I'm learning the revenue, learning profits, doing that literacy there, and then managing myself. I'm able to do these things now. and I don't have to stress about them, right? And I think life is too short and too precious to stress when it comes to money related problems. And that's what a lot of people are missing, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
But it's always good. I think board education needs, we all need some sort of financial literacy, managing your budget and managing your money, right? And
Yeah.
making sure that you're on the right track, right? So shout out to those who are in the docket, who understands the role of things. Now, we gotta let's see, because I want to make sure I get you here on time.
Yeah, I got the deuce. Well, you know what? Let me not say that because that means certain things in other places. I have
Yeah.
to peace out.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this up real quick.
Okay.
Hot take. We'll skip Dr. Umar's segment for a next episode, right? Because that's gonna take too much time. Hot take before we wrap here today.
Okay.
Holding the door for ladies when they don't say thank you. Now, quick story today. Went to the gym. I'll make this short and sweet and quick. Went to the gym, blast out of there, hold the door for the young lady. And then she looks at me all like I was a creeper. Didn't understand it. I'm like, hey, I'm just holding the door, just trying to be a gentleman. She walks out and then she just storms out. I'm like, well, you're welcome. I'll hold the door for you. You don't say thank you. I can't stand it. I think everybody should understand when somebody holds, and I know it's the gentleman thing to do. I get it. But at least say thank you. Do you agree, or am I wrong in this, Evan?
No, I think that saying thank you is a good foot forward. But let me ask you this: were you taught to open doors for women?
Yes.
Okay. Consider this: some women weren't taught that men should be opening doors for them, or
good point.
They have not had experiences of men opening doors for them, so they don't know how to receive that. Doesn't make it right or wrong. They don't know how to receive it. So I would challenge you that anytime you do it, let it be because that's the gentleman that you are, and that's what you were taught. So even if they don't say thank you, know that there's a woman as such as myself that appreciates you doing that somewhere, and let that be it. Because you'll lose sleep. Because there's a lot of things that men and women were not taught. It's simply, and I had to come to terms with that because I was like, you heathens. Like, you see me holding this door. Like, and I would get upset, but I was like, you know what? Some people literally were not taught certain manners, or they were taught it and they abandoned it, or they just have never experienced it. And so they just, they're going about their day. And some people just have tunnel vision. I learned that going to New York for the first time. I'm my little southern self walking down, in Manhattan. I'm waving to people and, hi, how you doing? And they just walking right past me, like, what's wrong with her? It's like, oh, I stuck out like a sore thumb,
Yeah.
Even now, sometimes I'm riding through my neighborhood and leaving, and a car passed me, I'll wave, a smile, and it just be looking just not. I'm like, I said, don't have me get in this Facebook group on the community page and be like, hey, when y'all see me wave, y'all best wave.
That sounds like something I would do too.
But I would consider that, yes, it's absolutely, it's rude, but you got to consider the source and where it's coming from. So as long as you are doing it in sincerity and coming from a place of you being a gentleman and what you've been taught, please know that there are women, mature grown women, who do experience that and love that men do that for them out there. We appreciate that for you. And if you don't get to thank you for the person in the moment, know that Evelyn thanks you at least.
Hey, Evelyn Leteshia, everybody. K.L.P in the morning. So we're going to wrap this podcast up, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode, thank you so very much. We had a lot of people listen to the last episode. We did get some notes, right? With the setup of the show, and we took the notes to heart, but we're always going to be perfecting the podcast. So again, you guys can like us on YouTube at K.L.P Entertainment, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, we thank you guys so very much. Evelyn, it's been a pleasure again have you on episode 2.
Always.
We gonna do more. Hey, next week. Hey, same time next week. So that's going to wrap it up here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Please, thank you guys so very much. And we'll see you guys and hear you guys on the next episode. Stay safe. Stay swanky.
Go! What's going on in Hot Atlanta? Live from Swanky 93.3 and the Heat 94.6. brings back the hottest hip-hop radio show live from K.L.P Entertainment and K.L.P Studios. Then K.L.P in the morning with your host, K.L.P Kennedy Lucas.
You know what it is? Put your hands up.
Tune in now on any audio platform.
Go.